Viewer advisory. The events you are about to witness are based on a true story. Some scenes may be deeply unsettling for certain audiences. Viewer discretion is strongly recommended. Picture this. A woman sits alone on the cold marble floor of one of Lagos's busiest shopping malls, tears streaming down her face, clutching her white cane like a lifeline. For 3 hours, shoppers walk past her, their whispers echoing through the corridor. Poor woman, they say. Someone left her here. What they don't know is that this isn't just abandonment. It's the beginning of one of the most shocking cases of financial abuse and betrayal I've ever encountered. This is the story of Grace Adebayo, and how one moment of cruelty led to the downfall of a man who thought he could destroy an innocent woman and walk away free. But sometimes, just sometimes, the universe has other plans. Tonight's story is one that will leave you rattled. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and tell us in the comments where in the world you're tuning in from. Now, let's begin. Grace had been sitting on that marble floor for hours, abandoned like a forgotten shopping bag in Shoprite Mall, Victoria Island. Her husband Michael had told her he was going to the bathroom. That was at noon. Now the afternoon sun was setting, casting long shadows through the mall's glass ceiling, and Michael was nowhere to be found. But to understand how Grace ended up here, we need to go back 2 years. Grace wasn't always a victim. She had been the pride of her family in Adebayo, working as a telephone operator for a major company on Lagos Island. Her blindness, caused by childhood fever, never stopped her from being fiercely independent. She could navigate Lagos's chaotic streets better than most people with perfect sight, cook elaborate meals, and manage her finances with precision. Michael Adebayo had been her colleague, charming and attentive. "Grace, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever met," he would whisper. "Your blindness doesn't matter to me. I love you for who you are." They married in a small ceremony at her local church, despite her mother's warnings. "My daughter, be careful. Some men speak sweet words, but have bitter hearts." The mass began slipping 6 months after their wedding. Michael started coming home late, reeking of perfume that wasn't hers. When Grace questioned him, he'd snap, "You can't even see me, Grace. How do you know where I've been?" Things spiraled when Grace lost her job during company downsizing. Michael became cold, cruel, constantly criticizing everything she did. Unknown to Grace, Michael had been living a double life. He was stealing from his company. Over 3 million naira disappeared into his personal accounts. He was using Grace's identity, her disability benefits, her personal information to open fraudulent credit accounts. Every document he asked her to sign, claiming it was household paperwork, was actually another financial trap. All this money was funding his secret life with Linda Chioma, a bank teller who believed Michael was a successful executive planning to leave his burdensome wife. Michael painted Grace as dependent and useless, never mentioning her blindness or the fact that he was systematically destroying her financially. That morning, Michael had woken up unusually cheerful. "Grace, let's go shopping today," he said sweetly. "I want to buy you something nice." Grace was overjoyed. Maybe their marriage was healing. She wore her best blue Ankara dress and carefully applied makeup, wanting to look beautiful for her husband. At the mall, Michael kept checking his phone nervously. When they reached the food court, he said, "Grace, wait here. I need to use the restroom. Don't move, okay? I'll be right back." Those were the last words Grace would ever hear from her husband. What Grace didn't know was that across the mall, someone had been watching the entire scene unfold. David Johnson, son of Lagos State Governor James Johnson, often came to public places to observe and understand ordinary people's struggles. He had noticed Grace when she arrived with Michael, seeing how her husband treated her. Impatient, embarrassed, constantly looking around as if ashamed to be seen with her. When David saw Michael sneak out through the mall's back exit while Grace waited faithfully, his blood boiled. His late mother had made him promise to always protect those who couldn't protect themselves. "David, my son," she had whispered from her hospital bed, "wealth and power mean nothing if you don't use them to help others." David pulled out his phone and made a call. "Hello, this is David Johnson. I need you to run a complete background check on someone named Michael." "Yes, it's urgent." 3 hours later, When mall security guard Mr. Emeka found Grace still waiting, David approached them. "Ma'am, I witnessed what happened. I'd like to help get you home safely." Grace was hesitant. Her mother had warned her about strange men, but something in David's gentle voice reminded her of her father. In David's car, Grace listened as he made calls that would change everything. "Michael Adebayo, Crown Insurance Company," David said into his phone. "I want his employment history, bank records, everything. And I want it by tomorrow morning." The investigation David commissioned revealed a web of fraud so extensive it shocked even seasoned investigators. Michael hadn't just stolen from his company. He had systematically destroyed Grace's financial life. Loans in her name, credit cards she never knew existed, benefits stolen, identity completely compromised. But David Johnson wasn't just any rich man's son. He was methodical, powerful, and absolutely ruthless when it came to protecting innocent people. His first call was to his father's personal lawyer, Mr. Adebayo Fashola, one of Nigeria's most feared attorneys. His second was to the managing director of Crown Insurance Company, a company David's family foundation had heavily invested in. Meanwhile, Michael was celebrating in a Victoria Island hotel with Linda, both naked under expensive sheets he'd bought with stolen money. He thought he was finally free, finally able to start his real life without his burden of a wife slowing him down. Michael walked into work the next morning humming happily, greeting security guards, buying his usual coffee. At 9:15 a.m., he was called to an urgent meeting in the conference room. Maybe they were giving him that promotion he expected. Instead, he opened the door to find his boss, HR director, company lawyer, and 2 police officers waiting for him. "Michael Adebayo," said one officer, standing up, "you are under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and identity theft." As handcuffs clicked around his wrists, Michael's carefully constructed world collapsed. "How'd you find out?" he whispered. His boss looked at him with disgust. "You picked the wrong woman to mess with, Michael. Grace has friends in high places now." The news of Michael's arrest spread through Lagos like wildfire. Crown Insurance employee arrested for N3 million fraud dominated headlines. Linda, sitting in their hotel room surrounded by stolen luxury, realized she had been living on money taken from Michael's blind wife. But David wasn't finished. He ensured Grace's name was completely cleared, all stolen money recovered, and Michael faced the full force of the law. More importantly, he made sure Grace knew she was no longer alone in the world. When Linda, racked with guilt, reached out to apologize, Grace surprised everyone by agreeing to meet her. "Maybe she's another one of Michael's victims," Grace said with characteristic grace. In David's office, Linda broke down crying. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know about the fraud. He told me his marriage was already over. He never told me you were blind." Grace listened quietly, then said something that shocked everyone. "I forgive you. We were both victims of his lies." Michael was sentenced to 15 years in prison for fraud, embezzlement, and identity theft. His assets were seized, his reputation destroyed, his future ruined. The man who thought he could abandon his blind wife like trash discovered that sometimes the universe has a sense of justice. As for Grace, she didn't just survive, she thrived. With David's help, she started a foundation supporting victims of financial abuse. David, who had initially planned to simply help her get home that day, found himself drawn to Grace's incredible strength and dignity. What started as protection grew into something deeper, a love built on respect, trust, and genuine connection. 6 months later, when David proposed to Grace in the same mall where Michael had abandoned her, she said yes. Not because he was wealthy, but because he saw her as a complete person worthy of love and respect. Michael learned the hard way that when you abandon someone who deserves protection, you might just anger someone with the power to destroy everything you've built on lies. Grace learned that sometimes when one door closes cruelly, God opens a window that leads to a palace. Justice wasn't just served, it was delivered with the full force of divine intervention and human decency. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you haven't already, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We upload New true crime content daily, covering cases you know and many you don't. Stick with us as we bring you more stories that deserve to be heard. See you in the next video.